Are your kids' imaginary friends just imaginary? Let's find out right now on What the Fetch. Hey weirdos, I'm Grant. Being a parent is tough. Seriously, the highest highs and the lowest lows come from having kids. I should know. I have 3 boys. But I say you haven't truly lived until you've lived for someone else. That being said, when you become a parent, you don't have to get a license, you don't have to take a test, you don't even have to take a class. They just let you have one. Talk about weird. Man, they don't even give you a manual, much less one with a section about how to handle the paranormal as a parent. Well, hopefully I can change that a bit with this video. As a parent, when something strange or possibly unexplainable happens to your child, something sort of snaps in your head. Now, suddenly the paranormal is real. To you, every story you've ever heard and everything you've ever seen on TV is now possible and coming after your child. That creates this huge cloud of scary potential. Suddenly the stress of how do I get my kid to eat anything besides chicken nuggets and crayons becomes so trivial when compared to the great unknown. Fair enough, but if we remove Hollywood as a viable source of info, we start to see we can approach these problems with both feet on the ground and, one step at a time, boil down that huge cloud of scary potential into a pill we can easily swallow. Now, one of the most common occurrences of strangeness among our kids is that of imaginary friends. Imaginary friends are not a sign that your child is crazy. In fact, a study revealed that most kids who grew up with imaginary friends turned out to be smarter, less shy, more sympathetic, and quicker to laugh. You'd think children create imaginary friends because they're lonely or have social problems, but research shows that's not really the case. Sometimes it's a chance to practice their budding social skills in a situation where they are in control. Sometimes it's a way for children to deal with their insecurities by imbuing someone else with their insecurities to make themselves feel better. For example, if a child is uncomfortable about their height, they may create a tiny imaginary friend to make themselves feel taller or more comfortable about their height. Or they can simply have their friends sympathize with them over their mutual shortness. Sometimes they create them just because it's fun to pretend with a friend that can be with them whenever they want and wherever they go. But sometimes these friends aren't so imaginary. Remember, young children haven't been conditioned to logically rule out the possibility of things beyond what is considered normal. They barely know what normal is. So, how do you know if your child's imaginary friend is just that or something more? Well, we may never know for sure, but here are a few things to try. What does your child call the friend? Does your child call the friend something like Zip Doodle, Mr. Cranky Pants, Snuffleupagus, or Captain Zoran? Or do they call their friend something like Eustace, Ethel, Cletus, or Reginald? While the names parents are choosing these days get crazier and crazier, Ladasha, those older names are not as popular nowadays as they were in the past. This is one clue that they may be talking to someone who actually lived in the past. Then ask yourself, is the name your child gave to the friend one you've heard in your normal circles? Is there anyone at school with that name? Or in any one of the shows your child watches? Next, how does the child describe the friend? Is the description fanciful or normal? For example, does the child say he's a man with fairy wings, 3 eyes, and a beard made of sunshine? Or does the child say it's a man with gray hair, a tall hat, and a cane? Next, is the child caught off guard by the friend? Imaginary friends rarely take a child by surprise. If the child is caught off guard by the friend either entering or leaving the room when the child wasn't expecting it, or if the imaginary friend either says or does something the child isn't expecting, then that's another clue that the friend might be more than imaginary. And finally, what are they talking about? Is the child talking about subjects that the child couldn't possibly know about? Imaginary friends will talk dinosaurs, candy, magic, fanciful far-off lands, or toys mostly. But if your child is discussing the finer points of polio, prohibition, or beating a hoop down the street, then you know something might be up. So let's say that you figured out that it might be something more than an imaginary friend. What do we do about it? First and foremost, don't draw attention to it. If you draw too much attention to the imaginary friend, your child will start to use it as a tool to get attention. And then you can't really trust what the child says about the imaginary friend. Next, don't say they aren't real. Your child's imaginary friend is very real to them. If you tell them it's not real, they'll lose trust in you. Now, if the friend is a paranormal entity, it may look as real to the child as I do to you right now. So if you tell them that very real person isn't real, you've completely taken away their ability to trust you because they're clearly seeing it with their own two eyes. Next, don't trust it. You don't know who you're talking to, so don't trust it. We teach our kids not to talk to strangers. This is no different. Even if the friend seems nice, don't let the child talk to their imaginary friend for more than 5 minutes at a time. This will greatly limit the relationship the imaginary friend or the paranormal entity can form with the child. Let them chat for those 5 minutes while you quietly observe. Then, casually distract the child with a fun activity without mentioning the imaginary friend. Next, test the bond. Try telling your child that their imaginary friend has to go away forever. Then gauge their reaction. If it's a touch of sadness or confusion, but eventually ending with acceptance, then it's probably okay, but keep an eye on it. If it's extreme sadness or anger, you should take steps to try to wean your child from the entity faster by slowly limiting how often their friend is allowed to stop by. Also, draw a picture. If your child comes to you talking about their imaginary friend, have them draw a picture of it. Not only will you get a better idea of what they are actually seeing, but children naturally talk more when they're drawing or building. If they draw a blue elephant on a unicycle, it's probably imaginary. If they draw an Abraham Lincoln looking guy, it may be paranormal. If they describe what could be a real person, sit with them and peruse the family album. And maybe they'll just happen to see their imaginary friend as one of the relatives among the family photos. Next, don't ever let your child share their thoughts with them. That really has nothing to do with the paranormal. We just don't want them starting bad habits when they're young. Basically, the child will follow your lead. If you're scared, they'll be scared. If you're calm, they'll be calm. And it's okay to say, I don't know. Let's find out together. Remember, while your child's imaginary friend may be an entity in need, your child's safety and sanity is of a much higher priority. Every time you remove a child from interacting with an entity, I suggest you go into the room afterwards while the child is distracted and have a friendly but straightforward chat with the entity. Let them know that interacting with your child is not allowed, and you'd be more than happy to try to help them as long as they go through you and not your child. It's your house and your child. You set the rules. Always remember to treat entities as you would a living person exhibiting the same behavior, but give them the benefit of the doubt before you let Mama Bear out. But what about you? Did you have an imaginary friend as a child? Do your kids have imaginary friends now? If so, let me know how you handled it down in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, click that notification bell, and share this video with all of your imaginary friends. Thanks for stopping by, guys. What's that? Oh, my friend says, stay weird.